West Side Worldwide. Welcome to Story Time with OG LA Ron. Please don't forget to smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. Please don't forget to go to the website, get that merch. Today, I want to do a story on a guy that should be let out of prison today. His name is Larry Hoover. How did I get familiar with Larry Hoover? When I was in Terry Hutton in the 90s, I was in the weight room in the back by the gym, and I kept hearing this noise over the prison, and they was holding some of the guys from Chicago back there, and I think they was flying them in on helicopter to actually to secure security. And I had an opportunity to be in the weight room a few times, and I hear dudes hollering through the windows, talking to the El Rookins and the guys that was going to trial. And a couple of guys say they think Larry Hoover is back there. That was one of the first times I actually was close or either in the same proximity with Larry Hoover and the Chicago guys, and I didn't really know a lot about the GDs until I got to Terry Hut. That was one of the GD stronghold, and I didn't know that the GDs was that big, but I always knew that the Crips and the GDs kind of like got along, because when I first got there, they was getting along, and there was a lot of peace there. But anyway, to talk about Larry Hoover, and maybe I might be able to shed some light on his situation by me doing 33 years in the feds. I've been to 6 penitentiaries, 2 FCIs. I just really wanted to document some of my knowledge of the federal system and the law. What is going on with Larry Hoover and his being released inside of federal custody? You have two major situations here. You have two dual jurisdictions. One is called federal jurisdiction, one is called state jurisdiction. Now, how did I get a good insight on this particular situation that is occurring right now with Larry Hoover? In 2016 or 17, I seen when Harry O came down from the state penitentiary. Harry O had a situation which is the same identical situation to Harry O, to Larry Hoover. So when I was sitting in the library one day with a guy named Amos Scott, Richie Rich, Tommy Edom, which is black out of Watts, and we used to sit down in the library and talk about jurisdiction. And Harry O came down to the library like he used to do all the time, and he was asking Richie Rich, which Richie Rich had life sentence, I had life sentence, a few of us had life sentence, and he was asking Richie Rich how to get his sentence reduced from the feds because he had an indeterminate sentence on one of the jurisdictions. This is how I found out exactly what Larry Hoover is going through. He said that since he had an indeterminate definite sentence inside of the feds first, but he had a non-indefinite sentence inside of the feds, but he had an indefinite definite sentence in the state. He was supposed to go do the lesser first, and then go do the life sentence, which he had 27 to life for attempted murder. Now, if the 27 to life is a parolable where you never get out unless you get parole, why we were supposed to send him to the feds to do the 17 out of 21 years in the feds, and then they were supposed to send him back to do the life sentence, because once the feds would eat up all of the state. See, but this is one of the things about the federal government. They try to fudge on the sentences. They try to fudge. They try to get greedy. And when they get greedy, it always backfire on them. And this is the situation with Larry Hoover. I think this is going to backfire on the government and the state system because Larry Hoover was sentenced to, he was in the state and he got a Fed case while he was in the state and they sent him to the feds, which the feds was a life sentence. He was supposed to go do the 200 years first because it was parolable. And then he was supposed to come back into the feds and finish the feds. But the feds got greedy. And this is where I think that they saying that they don't want him in the state. They saying that they don't have jurisdiction and they shouldn't have jurisdiction. And they're right. They shouldn't have jurisdiction no more because he was supposed to do the indeterminate sentence inside of the feds and then the state. Now, since they sent him to the feds, they waived jurisdiction for him to go back to the state because this is the deal. When you go to the parole board in the new systems, because Larry Hoover was sentenced in the 70s, it was about a 70 case. So those are grandfather laws, grandfather statutes that was built in the statutes, which is the new statutes trump those old statutes because the old statutes don't have the power that they had for federal system. So when they brought Larry to the feds and waived the 200 years or whatever the parolable, okay, now they are saying that Larry did not do what they told him to do. I was in Victorville before I got out, and it was a guy in there from Backstreet, and he went to the parole board because a lot of the federal prisons don't have the parole board in certain prisons, so they'll send you to another prison so you to go to the parole board. So when this guy came back from the parole board, this is how I got the inside scoop on what the criteria of the parole board want you to do while you're in the federal custody. This is one of the things that a lot of guys don't understand. When he came back from going across the street to the state parole board, they asked him, they say, man, do you have any certificates? Do you have any work history? Do you have any degrees? Did you get a GED? Did you get any of these things while you've been sitting up waiting for the parole board? Because he had more time in the feds in the state. And when he came back, he was telling us that this is what they want. Now, this is what I heard Larry Hoover's son explaining to the talk show, The Drink Champs, that they told Larry Hoover to get certificates or be able to program while he's in ADX. But ADX don't have a system like that. But the thing is, programming in ADX is not getting in trouble because it's a step down. And you can step down unless you're in there for definite. So when Larry Hoover just being in there, not getting in any trouble and maybe writing or going back and forth with his family or with the actual contact with officers and his mannerism and how he act, and he's a real encourageable guy. Those are the things that the parole board can look at because at the end of the day, he's programming. And they told him he haven't took any classes, he haven't done this and this. By Larry Hoover being inside 80 days, which is locked down 23 hours out of 24, it's hard to really program in unless you're reading a lot of books, which Larry Hoover have. I know Larry Hoover done read over 100 books, and I just seen some of the videos and some of the things that other people saying that he's doing. That's programming. So I don't understand why they saying he's not programming. Now, when you read these books and you apply these things to your life, this is programming. Now, so when they come to ask him, have you been taking any classes? Have he been doing? Yeah, I think Larry Hoover might have had mastered working out, because that's a program too. Because you got to, when you in those places, man, you got to have a sane mind, and you got to have your body in coordination with your mind, because if you don't want to lose your mind in there. A guy called me the other day and say, man, he was in jail with one of the Chambers brothers. And I was like, yeah, I was in there with Marlo. And he said, yeah, man, they kept giving him all of these drugs, and they kept getting him. He got dementia right now. And he said, yeah, Dad, this is the guy named Fish on the phone. And he said his eyes lit up when he told him it was me. See, this is the type of thing that solitary confinement does to men, black men, period, women. It eats your mind away. You in a cell all day, every day, and you got to be able to program yourself to get up, take a shower, work out, read, listen to the other guys on different sides of the tier. You got to program your mind, man, so you won't lose it. And I really think that this guy have mastered the mind, because he haven't lost his mind. And when I hear his son, pleading the case on his dad is didn't take no classes. A lot of times, man, he has been stripped of those classes, or he couldn't take them. But at the end of the day, just post rehabilitation, just having the same mind should be able to be enough to let him out on the state dual sentences. Now, if the feds wouldn't have been so greedy, they would have knew that once you get the state case first, then you get the fed case. That means that a lot of times they run them together. So when they send him to the feds to finish in ADX with the life sentence or whatever time he had, it runs together with the state. That's why the parole board kept having parole hearings for Larry Hoover, even though he was in the feds. Because if he would have been to the state, the feds don't have parole. So they wouldn't have to worry about him getting parole in the feds, because he was going to be paroled out the state and then go to the feds. But they jumped the gun. Now you see how his lawyers and how his son is explaining to the Drink Champs podcast what happened. And I'm just so glad that I would be able to expound on what happened and what the situation is in this Larry Hoover case, because I know that this guy have rehabilitated, and I know he has a lot of insight to be able to go to the communities, to go back and help those communities. I wish they would have gave him to Kanye West and say, Kanye West, you be responsible for Larry Hoover, because you got a lot of these guys that Donald Trump really care for. So I see Leonard Pellick here get out. I see you got a couple guys down here from Texas, the Santello brothers. I see Donald Trump let a lot of these guys out, but Donald Trump is right. Donald Trump know that since the judge didn't give him what was getting coming, the clemency and the pardon takes all that away. Now, when he go to the state, he would never have to come back to the feds, because his sentence is did away with. But he was supposed to come to the feds first, and then he was supposed to go to the state and then the feds. But since the feds jumped the gun, they got greedy, and they seen that they had Larry in a situation. But they got a law on the books that talks about you can start with a BP 8 and work up to a 9, a 10, 11, all the way up. That's what Harry-O did. Harry-O had Richie Rich start with a BP 8, and then he did a 9, 10, all the way to the region or whatever. And that's how you get your sentence commuted. And that's how you get your sentence. And that's how we're going to do with Larry Hoover. We're going to use these petitions and get Larry Hoover out of the custody of this situation. they can even let Larry Hoover out on bond because it's a parolable sentence. It's a situation where he can get a bond on it because it's from the 70s, the 80s, or whatever. Now that I think he have a good legal team, and now he need to really show the judge in the state that the feds lost, the state lost jurisdiction because you just can't keep sending them back and forth. That's not how this works. When you go to the feds, you automatically they run it together. I know sometimes they don't mention it. I know sometimes they do mention it, but a lot of the federal prisoners know that you got to understand that jurisdiction goes over to one of those entities because you can't have body in both places. So one of those entities got to have more power over the other one because he was in the feds for all these years. Now they don't know what to do because they messed up. But I'm going to pray for this brother. I'm going to keep on talking about the Larry Hoover situation. I'm going to keep on showing the law that I know, that I didn't see with my own eyes, how when you have an indeterminate sentence, you're supposed to do the one that is definite, the one lesser first, and then you go do the greater. But the feds, they jumped the gun. And they didn't know what to do with this because his case came out the 70s. And I think that the feds really took over and wanted to do everything they could do because they have a lot of convictions that they got off of Larry Hoover's case. So now I'm just going to see how this play out. I was telling one of my business partners that we don't want to jump the gun. We want to be able to make sure Larry get his feet on the ground outside of prison before we get to litigating these cases. But right now, it's still in litigation. It's still talking about jurisdiction. And I just want to ask everybody out there, man, that would just hold on until Larry put his foot outside of the prison system before you celebrate, before I see a lot of guys crying and congratulations. I understand all that. I did 33 years. They even had Larry where he wasn't eating. So what if he getting ready to get out and he don't get out and he died in jail? That's why you make sure to hold your celebration until Larry walk out that door. I'm asking all the brothers in Chicago, all around the country, listen, man, he's not out until he's out. So let's just hold on a little bit. I see a lot of guys is getting anxious, they getting sentimental, they in their feelings, they into a lot of things, man. But you got to understand, just like having a date to get out and you can't get that date. I know how I feel. Every minute you in jail, it count. Every second, every hour, every month, every year, everything count when you are behind bars. You ain't behind bars. Larry is behind bars. And I just want to thank the team and the effort and Little James out of Houston and all these guys. All right, come on now, Rick Ross, I need you to get involved with all of these things, but we just need to hold up on the celebration until Larry Hoover put his feet back on free soil or back in Chicago or wherever he going. We got to just hold off. I see a lot of people jump the gun. This is how Larry's going to get out because they jumped the gun in the feds. They tried to put him in ADX and seal a wall where he'll never get out. But this is the type of thing that you have to really pay attention to. We thought Obama was going to let him out. Oh, man, Obama, he didn't let him out. You cannot celebrate a man's victory or a man's freedom until he's free. Why would you jump the gun? You can't put the carrot before the horse. The one thing about the feds, man, you got guys not waking up in there. You got guys dying every day in there. But your family can't celebrate until he gets his foot on the ground. I repeat, Wait till Larry Hoover get his feet on free soil before you get to making all these videos, before you get to going on there crying, talking about the chief and all this. We need the chief on the street. Then we can celebrate, because I want to celebrate myself. But at the end of the day, I know how I feel, man. When they gave me my date, I didn't get immediate release. It took me a year or two to really comprehend what they had did to me on my release date. But believe this here, bro. Every day that Larry is in jail, everything is going slow. Everything is seeming like, is I'm gonna really get out? Is it? Do I have a date? Is this real? Is this the same? See, you ain't got to worry about that. When I got those, I had like about 2 years. They sent me to another prison. I got in a fight. They sent me to another prison. I'm fighting in there. I'm fighting against dudes. I ain't got that much time. But at the end of the day, man, I wasn't free, and I didn't really feel it until I got in that airplane, and they lifted me off the ground and they took me to Texas. But I didn't even feel it when I feel it when I went to R&D, and it's going over in my mind. Is this gonna happen? I got put my clothes on, the pack out. I'm thinking, is this really gonna happen? Because I done seen dudes, man, get in R&D and they say, man, the papers, they didn't sign the papers in time. But let's pray. Let's wait. Let's celebrate when he put that foot on the ground outside of the prison, in the parking lot, in the car, on the way home. Then we can celebrate. But right now, bro, just hold off. We still in praying for this guy. Larry Hoover, I hope this information find into the right hands, because I done seen it, this particular situation a few times. And I would love to see you win on this issue, because the feds jumped the gun. Now the state is trying to backtrack, and they trying to say what you didn't do, this, do. They don't want you in the state system because of who you are, your name, and what you have become, because you would change the system on positivity, growth and development, positivity. I even took some of your strategies or some of your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to even get me to be a better man. I know what one person can do to a community. I've been out over a year now. I was in the half house for a year. I've been out over a year now. I have my own podcast. I have my own YouTube. And I'm just glad to be able to speak on a level. I never thought I would be in a prison with a life sentence, and now I'm a YouTuber. I'm one of the only guys, my friend told me, that he know that was in prison with life, that's a YouTuber now. So I'm just using my platform. I always thank Travis Smiley for even motivating me to be able to speak on this type of thing. He got apple tree building in LA, and I always used to listen to Travis Smiley, how he went through what he went through. All of the guys, Tyler Perry, all of these guys, man, that I look up to, and now I have my own brand. I have my own situation, my own Tory's time, and I just wanted a lot of guys to know that this stuff is real, and let's wait till we can get this guy feet on the ground. Thank Brittany out of SMU for helping us and Tello Brothers get out. I want to thank the lawyer that helped. Her name is Champion out of California, that helped Ham and the rest of those guys get out of prison. A lot of my guys that was in there for life. So I want to talk about. I've been seeing Flav a lot and Small Change and those guys out of Baton Rouge. I've been seeing a lot of guys getting out of prison all over the country. I want to thank my guy from Ear Hustle, Earl Woods, that him and his team is doing a good job with Ear Hustle. And I want to just thank a lot of these social issues, and I want to thank my homie Big Snake out of LA, over in the Six Pack over in that area, doing a good job with the toys and everything. I want to also thank Nipsey's brother for with the Smash Burgers, the marathon. I'm just in a thankful mood, man, because 2 years ago I was inside a federal prison And I didn't know that I was going to get out of prison. And now I'm out. Now I see that I have a lot of guys that's follow my page. Shag, Warren, G-Ice-T, Nick Cannon, all these guys. I never thought these guys would even pay attention to my podcast. I want to even thank the lady that been helping Brittany, Kim Kardashian. I want to see could we get out C Murder, Master P's brother. I just want, man, just to get out, help brothers get out. Even this white guy that just got out, his name is Christie. He have a show, and Donald Trump. I see his daughter knowing really about prison issues now. Now I see that it take a white guy to go inside and to get back out and see the conditions and see the opportunity to see how they treating black men inside of prison, how many black men in there, and the programs they not getting, and the trades they not getting. I just wanted to bring a light on his situation and what he's talking about. This is part one of my Larry Hoover special. We all need to get out of these prisons. It's a million black men incarcerated inside of the United States, and it takes a million combined with, to take all the races combined together to make a million. But this issue, man, is big, and we need to address it. Larry Hoover, clemency, or pardon, or parole. Which one should they give him? He got clemency and he got pardon. Is he going to get a clemency or a pardon in the state? Which one is it? Parole, clemency, or being pardoned?